Line. Brought to you by Remington Rand, makers of the revolutionary new Remington Rolectric and the new ladies' electric shaver, the Remington Princess. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a very old friend and a very good actor, back tonight by popular demand, Mr. Jim Backus.
Never underestimate the power of the woman or the power of the press. And here's a lovely lady I wouldn't dream of underestimating, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Now I'd like to introduce our regular panelist, who is the publisher of one of the most exciting novels I've ever read. A new book by Ayn Rand, due soon, called Atlas Shrugged. Don't miss it. Bennett, Cerf.
I hope you'll let me be serious for a minute tonight instead of the kidding introduction I usually give to John Charles Daly. I'd like to point out to you that this is his 381st consecutive appearance as panel moderator of What's My Line. For 7.5 years, he's never missed one show. But next week, he's going to break his string, just like Lou Gehrig and Stan the Man Musial had to do at long last. As a news commentator and analyst, he's going to Europe where the news is being made, so he's going to miss one show. So we'll all be watching him with a special affection and care tonight. John Daly.
Of course, actually, the best part of all this is that we have persuaded Bennett that he should assume this chair next week. About the only regret... About the only regret I've got that I'm going to Europe is that I'm not going to be here to see that, because I'd like to see that. Actually, it's Air France this time. It's shrinking the world, and I'm going to leave early this week and fly nonstop to Athens and then come back into Rome and Paris and London and look at our news operation and then come back again. I will not have as much chance as I'd like to have to see some of our friends in England who have been doing What's My Line for a long time, and I think there are versions in Europe. But mostly I want to see the kinescope of what happens here next Sunday. And now let's get to tonight. We have some fine occupations and some wonderful people who've brought them in with them. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before our panel a little bit later in the show, and we'll meet our first challenger in just 1 minute. Now let's meet our first contestant. Will you come in and sign in, please? Will you sign in right there, please? Felisa R. Gautier. Is that right? Panel, I must tell you, first of all, that for reasons which are all our own, we're not going to ask, is it Miss or Mrs. Gautier? Mrs. Gautier, where she's from. We'll just leave that as part of the mystery of her appearance here. Mrs. Gautier, the panel. And now will you join me over here, please? Mrs. Gautier, are you familiar with the way we score this program?
Yes.
Fine. In that event, let's let everybody here in the theater and the folks who are at home know exactly what your line is. Customary bit of help. Mrs. Gautier is salaried. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Well, Mrs. Gautier, the name is French, I would think, but the costume speaks of Madrid or some Spanish country. Do you do something in relation to Spain or Portugal?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Backus.
Well, Miss Gautier, not Spain, are you from this hemisphere?
Yes.
Well, what's... Ah. Well,
Jim thought she was out of this world.
I thought you were out of this world. That hair, you're from this hemisphere.
Yes.
Are you south of Passaic?
Yeah.
No?
Are you from south of Passaic? Passaic is in New Jersey, so I think we'd have to admit you come from south of Passaic.
Are you south of Florida?
No.
No?
No, wait a minute. I think you are from south of the state of Florida. I think we'd have to say that, yes. Yes, I think so.
Yes, or is she? Is she from...
Yes,
Yes,
I think we'd have
yes.
to agree it's south of Florida.
South of... Are you from any of the islands of the...
Caribbean?
The Caribbean.
Yes.
Now, what are you going to do, Jim?
Are you... yes, yes. Well, are you... Are you from
You can
Cuba?
ask- Did you say Cuba?
Yes.
I was going to suggest, Jim, you could have said, are you from a big island or a little island? But no, that wouldn't do it. Cuba is no. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mrs. Gautier, are you from an island that encompasses 2 nations rather than just one?
Are you from an island that encompasses 2 nations and nationalities rather than one?
Well, that eliminates...
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Gautier, Miss Gautier, just to satisfy my literary curiosity, I take it you're no relative of the gentleman who wrote Mademoiselle de Maupin, Théophile Gautier, are you?
Are you any relative of Cléophile Gautier? No.
You never even heard of him. Well, that's the way it is. But,
He said he took it.
Sam?
you are from one of the islands. Is it an island that is still a colony of one of the European nations?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Well, now, let's leave the islands alone for a little while and see if we can find out something about what Mrs. Gautier does. Is there any product connected with what you do?
No.
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Backus.
Yeah. Are you from any possession of England in the...
No.
That's 6 down and
she
4 to
did?
go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is English spoken on the island that you come from?
No and yes.
And it is spoken, yes.
It is spoken.
Yes, no.
Is there another language that is more prevalent?
Is there another language that is more in use? Yes.
Would that be Spanish?
Yes.
Is this an island that ever belonged to Spain?
It does belong before.
Before.
It belong.
But it no longer belongs to Spain.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, could we have a conference?
You may have 30 seconds
Help
for a
me
conference.
out, kids.
I don't know. All I can think of is Morro
Baby?
Castle.
Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico.
Is it... Where are they?
Puerto Rico.
Oh. All right. Is it Puerto Rico?
Yes.
You're from Puerto Rico. Do you work for a non-profit making organization?
Yes.
You work for the government of Puerto Rico?
No.
Conrad
Well, you
Hilton?
see, I think, Dorothy, that Mrs. Gautier is well within her rights to consider there that when you said, do you work for the government of Puerto Rico, you were speaking of the government of the entire island, which is why you got your no. So that's 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, the government of Puerto Rico belongs, of course, Puerto Rico is now part of the United States. But is your work localized in Puerto Rico, the work that you do?
Yes.
Have you got anything to do with taking care of visitors or immigrants in Puerto Rico, either incoming people or outgoing people?
You mean directly, Bennett, here?
Well,
This is presupposing that almost anybody who has any relationship of a formal nature with the Puerto Rican government might have some tangential connection with tourists, and immigrants, and emigrants.
I'm not going to be able to do this next week, John. No, I meant more or less directly with taking care of tourists coming in or people who are emigrating to the States.
No, but not directly you don't. Your basic responsibility is elsewhere. So we'll have to give you a no. 8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you have some sort of a governmental job, even though we are saying it is not the government of Puerto Rico? Do you hold a governmental position of some kind?
Yes.
Is it a position that in this country is usually held by men?
Yes.
Would you be...
But it's not fair.
Jolly good for you down there in Puerto Rico. Would you be elected to office?
No.
No?
Actually,
They elect them in
I'm going
America,
to-
but they don't elect them down there,
I'm going to
perhaps.
give you a no on this, but I'm going to qualify it. It is probably reasonable to expect that the same office held in
That's
this
what I just
country
said.
might result from a direct election. Mr. Backus, 9 down and 1 to go.
Can't I say...
Well, what is that?
No, I have to give you a no, because this is
I
not...
thought you said it was a circumstantial no.
No, qualified, yeah.
I thought the circumstances were...
Do you work in San Juan?
Yes.
Do you work in the government in San Juan? Are you the mayor of San Juan?
Donna Felicia is indeed city manager, mayor of San Juan, and Arlene, I had to give you a no because
I
they
understood it, John.
elect commissioners and then the commissioners, even though they run with a promise of whom they're going to appoint,
John,
then appoint
I'm
the
with
mayor.
you. You're going to have next Sunday off, and I want everything to be your way this Sunday.
Thank you.
You're not elected?
No, it's...
Well, although I'm not elected, all the campaign runs around the person that's going to be the city manager because I am city manager and mayor of the city of San Juan. The oldest city under the United States flag, and I hope that some of you that have never been there, I hope you use the opportunity of your vacation to go there because it's a very beautiful resource, believe me.
Now you all see why in 1954 Donna Felice was named the Woman of the Americas. Thank you very much. Well, we nearly trapped you, but not quite. Perhaps we can trap you now. Will our next contestant come in and sign in, please? Right there. Reimer. Westerland, is that right? Mr. Westerland, where are you from?
I come from a little town in Sweden called Kungälv.
Kungälven in Sweden? Fine. Good to have you with us. Panel, Mr. Westerland, join me over here, please. Would you sit down? Are you familiar with the way we keep score?
Yes.
All right, fine. Let's let everybody at home and our friends here in the theater know exactly what your line is. Mr. Westerland is salaried. Let's begin the general questioning with Mr. Backus.
Is there a product involved with what you do?
Yes.
Is that product popular in Sweden?
Yes.
Would this product be popular in the United States?
Yes.
Do you manufacture this product?
Yes.
Does this...
Well, now, there's one thing. I will say this, that it is true there is a connection between Mr. Westerland and the manufacturer, but he plays a specific part in the process. Just so that you don't accept that as the complete answer.
Oh, I wasn't dreaming of that, no. Is there something that grows out of the ground that you manufacture later in...
Something
oh, boy, is there?
Is there something that grows out of the ground that he manufactures later?
Is there what?
Is that what the question?
Yes. That it grows, he doesn't grow, anybody, that it grows and then he later manufactures
Let me
it,
have a
or
small
with
conference. Well, actually, Jim, if you are asking is there any animal, mineral, vegetable matter in this thing, we would have to agree that there is a vegetable substance involved, yes.
Have I ever used this product?
No, it's reasonable to assume you haven't. 1 down, 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Thinking of aquavit.
Well, can ladies use this product?
Yes.
Would Arlene or I be more likely to use this than Jim?
Yes.
Oh.
Would it would?
Would it be found in the home?
Yes.
Could it also be found somewhere else outside the home?
Yes.
Would you regard it as useful rather than a purely luxury product?
Yes.
You think almost...
Dorothy, I don't want to mislead you. No one can doubt the useful nature of the product involved. I would not, however, say it was an absolute necessity.
Well, would some girls think they could barely get along without it? Is it that kind of a...
I think that's a safe assumption, yes.
Does it in any way change or enhance the appearance?
Yes.
If someone here were wearing it, would it... Well, you'd be an expert, so let's rule you out, but would Bennett necessarily be able to tell?
It's your question.
Would you please give me that question again?
Well, perhaps I could put it in another way. Is it meant to be an improvement that is not necessarily labeled an improvement, or not necessarily, I'm really terribly inarticulate, and I apologize, but would the girl who bought this particular thing hope that she would be enhanced without anybody knowing why or how? I mean, it's not like wearing flowers or something like that.
No.
It would be more or less concealed or camouflaged?
Yes.
It is worn on the person rather than carried.
Yes.
Is it worn under the clothing?
Yes.
Under a dress, for
Yes.
instance? Is it worn above the waist?
Yes.
I learned. Yes, it's worn above the waist.
Well, is it partly below the waist, too?
Yes.
Does it have any property of elasticity?
Yes.
Would it be in the girdle family?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, is it like a girdle?
That's right.
This
the
boy
product
makes
is a girdle.
girdles?
Yes. I beg your pardon?
He does something with girdles?
Yes. Now, what does he do with girdles?
Ooh, I can think of more funny answers. He inspects them.
No, inspects is not right. 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
You said before, I believe, that, Mr. Westland, that you do not actually manufacture the product. Wasn't
That's
that
right.
ascertained?
It's in the part of the manufacture of it.
Well, then, do you have something to do with the sale or modeling of girdles?
Modeling? 3 down and 7 to go, Miss
Funny
Francis.
answers.
No, he doesn't look like the type that would need to model one, I must say. Do you have anything to do with the importing of girdles from Sweden? I'd like to know if they have a different kind over there.
No. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Backus.
Do you design them?
Yes. Nice to have you with us, Mr. Westerland. Please go and congratulate the panel. I think they deserve congratulations. In just a moment, we'll meet tonight's Miss. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which I've asked my friends to blindfold themselves. Blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, Panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time in turn, moving clockwise. And we'll begin with Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you in the movies?
No, I'm not.
1 down, 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, there's a great deal of hoop-de-doo about all the great new television shows that are breaking in now or this week or next week. Are you connected with one of these great new television shows?
Yes, I am.
Miss Francis?
I judge by the huskiness in your voice you must sing.
What did you say, Miss Arlene?
I said I judge by the huskiness in her voice, or his voice, that it sings.
You're breaking it up, Arlene.
Do
the
you?
answer to that is yes. Mr. Backus?
Are you on a weekly television show?
Yes.
Miss Kilgallen?
Are you blonde?
This week.
This week?
This week was the answer given. Mr. Cerf?
Have you got a whole bunch of great big hit records and using them as sort of the basis of a show? I mean, for the title of the show?
Yes, I am.
Miss Francis?
Well, Bennett obviously has said, really, that it's Patti Page.
That's right. I must say, Miss Patti, I just don't think this is nice.
Well,
Practically put a career on the bar here with this
I was
voice.
thinking about that.
The laugh
When Arlene said
spoiled
about a singer,
Yeah, actually,
I
that's-
don't think I will be after tonight.
Probably it was a good idea, but as Bennett said, when you laughed, then I was afraid we were going to have trouble. Because number of gold records, you have, I think, something like nearly 10, I remember the last time I read of them. You have, what, eight, nine now? 9 gold records means you've sold more than 1 million of that particular record.
Yes.
What are some of them, Miss Bennett?
Well, they're kind of old now. Tennessee Waltz, Mockingbird Hill, Thank You, Cross Over the Bridge, I Went to Your Wedding, Changing Partners.
Ah, wonderful.
I remember the others.
Now they, as Bennett says, they all make, the records make a big new television program of your own on Wednesday
That's
nights
right,
called
on
The
Wednesday
Big
nights.
Records. Now there's imagination, the big
Imagination,
records.
wonderful.
How do you like the weekly stint? Do you find
Well,
it?
actually, we just started it, John, and after 39 weeks, I don't know if I'll be under here or sitting on top, but so far we love it. It's wonderful.
Well, I must say, Miss Patti, I'm very sorry, and I apologize about this panel here of ours. They shouldn't have done it, but in a way I'm glad, because I think if you'd had to use that voice for another 3 or 4 answers of no, we would have some real trouble getting that singing voice of yours out. Thanks very much for being
Thank
our
you
guest,
so
and
very
sorry
much.
we didn't give them
Thank you.
Next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Arlene.
Good trip, John, and good night. Good night to you, Jim, and congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Good night, Miss Dorothy.
Good night, Jim, and Bennett. Can't wait for next week. John, have a wonderful time, and we know, all of us on the panel, that Bennett will give just the same kind of clear, concise, and helpful answers that you always do.
Ernie Kovacs will be back.
Thank you, Doc. John, I think Ernie Kovacs is coming back to help out next week. And before you leave for Greece, would you leave a list of those misleading and obfuscating phrases of yours on that desk, please? Good night, John.
I'm hurt. After 7.5 years, all they tell me is that I'm obfuscating. And I know I haven't. What does it mean, Bennett?
It means deliberately misleading.
See, he publishes a dictionary. I knew he'd know the answer. Well, I don't mean to be deliberately misleading, but Bennett, we'll have a session before I go so that you can be too. How's that?
Thank you.
Thanks very much, panel. I shall miss you and have lots of fun next Sunday night, as I know you will. And Bennett, you have fun too. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us on What's My Line?
Don't forget, if you'd like to be a contestant, send a picture we can keep and your occupation to What's My Line? CBS Television, 485 Madison Avenue, New York, 22, New York. Transportation for contestants on What's My Line is provided by American Airlines. What's My Line is a Mark Goodson, Bill Codman production in association with the CBS television network. Be sure to see Remington Rand's other great television program, Gunsmoke, Saturday night on this same network.